Dora and I went from school uniforms to our wedding day, from poverty to wealth, in 15 years. But from love to betrayal, it only took 3. Your condition isn't very good. You should be hospitalized as soon as possible. I zipped up my down jacket, looking at the doctor in the white coat and gold-rimmed glasses, and nodded. Janine, I want to go back and think about it. Can you give me some more medicine? Yes, talk to your family when you go back. It's best to be hospitalized for treatment as soon as possible. Okay. After getting the medicine, I walked out of the hospital gates. The winter wind felt like a sharp knife, cutting mercilessly at my cheeks. I pulled up my down jacket and tightened my scarf, trying to ward off the biting cold. I pulled out my phone and dialed her number. Just like usual, it showed no answer. But this time, I felt stubborn. If it didn't connect, I'd keep dialing until it did. Dora's voice came through, still sweet but tinged with impatience. Hello? What is it? Calling over and over again. Don't you know I'm busy? Dora, I want to see you. I tried to keep my voice calm, even though my insides were churning. Are you deaf? I'm busy right now. Can't whatever it is wait? Is it that you're dying? There wasn't a trace of concern in her voice, only indifference. I have CNC, I am indeed dying. I summoned my courage, wanting to tell her. But before I could finish, the voice on the other end quickly cut me off. Wait a couple of days. I'll talk after I finish this project. Don't bother me for these 2 days. Her voice echoed in my ear, and the call was disconnected. My heart sank with it. 15 years of feeling with Dora. The year we met, she was 17, and I was 18. We were college classmates. She ran away from a remote area after being abused by her parents. I was an orphan with no father and no mother. Just like that, 2 outsiders in college became friends and then lovers. After graduating, to make a better life for ourselves, Dora and I started a student startup. In our poorest times, we were both in debt. We slept under bridges and ate stale bread. Back then, her plump face was sunken from hunger, but she would still push her only piece of stale bread into my hand, starving herself. I gave her half back, secretly vowing in my heart that I would definitely give Dora a good life. Perhaps our prayers were heard, allowing us 2 unlucky people to slowly succeed with our startup and start our own small company. But due to years of drinking outside, my body started to wear down severely 3 years ago. After several stomach bleeds landed me in the hospital, Dora cried her eyes out with worry, insisting I stay home and rest. She took on the company matters alone. The company was already running smoothly, so when Dora made this request, I didn't refuse for her peace of mind. But it was in these short 3 years that she slowly changed. She became someone I didn't recognize. I dragged my tired body home. When I opened the door, I heard laughter that didn't belong in our home. I froze in the doorway, my heart clenching. It was Dora's voice. She was messing around with a man, or more accurately, a young guy. He looked only in his early 20s, young and handsome, definitely the type she would like. I knew this guy. His name was Jason. He was Dora's assistant. And at that moment, I noticed a lipstick mark on his neck. Why are you back? Dora's voice broke through my thoughts. There was surprise in her voice, but not a hint of guilt. I didn't answer, just watched her silently, watched this woman I was willing to protect with my life. A smile was still on her face, and Jason stood beside her with a challenging look. Why is he here? I finally spoke, my voice hoarse. I just had drinks with a client. Jason brought me back. Dora answered casually, as if it were an unimportant matter. Her indifference made me swallow the words of accusation rising in my throat. I stood at the door, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my emotions. But the fresh gush of warmth in my nasal cavity forced me to turn and quickly walk into the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, my eyes bloodshot, and my nose was still bleeding. I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on my face, trying to clear my head. Water droplets ran down my cheeks, mixing with the blood, staining the white sink red. I looked up, back at the mirror. The man who was once actively striving, sunny and cheerful, was gone. In his place was a shell of a body, ravaged by illness. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. No wonder she didn't like me anymore. I walked out of the bathroom. Jason was gone. Dora was sitting on the sofa, smoking. When she saw me come out, the hand holding the cigarette paused. "It hasn't been that long. How did you get so thin? When I'm not home, can't you make yourself something to eat?" Her tone was accusatory, as if I were the one who had done something wrong. I opened my mouth, but found I didn't know what to say. My body was protesting, my heart was protesting, but I couldn't utter a single word of defense. "I'm not feeling well." I finally managed to squeeze out a sentence, my voice so weak it surprised even myself. Dora frowned. She stood up, walked over to me, and reached out to touch my forehead. Her hand was cold. "You have a fever." A hint of worry finally entered her voice. "Did you go to the hospital?" I nodded, not speaking. Dora looked at me, her eyes complex. She seemed about to say something, but finally just sighed. "Go rest. I'll make something to eat." She turned and walked towards the kitchen. I watched her back and returned to the bedroom, lay on the bed, and closed my eyes. My mind kept replaying bits and pieces of our past, the happy times, the difficult days, and now the indifference and distance. I didn't know how we had gotten to this point. I didn't know if we could ever go back. I fell into a heavy sleep. In my dream, I was back in college. Dora and I walked hand in hand on the campus paths. Her laughter was clear and melodious. My smile was bright and radiant. Suddenly, everything became blurry. Dora's face distorted, her voice turned sharp, her figure grew more and more distant until it vanished. I woke up with a start, covered in sweat. I sat up and turned on the bedside lamp. I saw Dora sitting on the side of the bed, her eyes full of concern. "Bad dream?" she asked softly. I nodded, not speaking. Dora reached out and gently stroked my forehead. Her touch was soft, giving me a sense of comfort. "Have something to eat." I made soup. She stood up and brought over a steaming bowl of soup. I took the soup and looked at her, a warm feeling rising in my heart. Maybe our relationship wasn't completely broken yet. Maybe we still had a chance to fix things. I slowly drank the soup. Dora sat by the bed, watching me quietly. Neither of us spoke, but the air was filled with a long-lost warmth. After finishing the soup, I felt my body regain some strength. I looked at Dora, gathered my courage, and decided to tell her about my illness. "Dora, there's something I need to tell you." She looked at me, her eyes filled with confusion. I took a deep breath, preparing to speak when Dora's phone rang. Dora glanced at the caller ID. She walked out of the bedroom and answered. Jason's wronged voice came from the other end. "Darling, I need you right now. Can you come over?" Dora's brows furrowed. She immediately stood up, her face etched with worry. "Where are you? Is it serious?" Her voice held an urgency I hadn't heard in a long time. I sat by the bed, the soup in my bowl turning bitter. "I'll be right there." "Don't move." Dora hung up the phone in a rush and turned to leave. "Dora." My voice was barely audible. She didn't hear it at all, quickly put on her coat and grabbed her car keys. "I have something to do. I have to go out." Her voice was hurried, and she didn't even look back at me. The door slammed shut. I was alone in the room. I felt a suffocating sensation, as if all the air had been sucked out. My tears silently fell into the soup bowl. Back in bed, I curled up under the covers, trying to find some warmth. But no matter how hard I tried, it was still so cold. Lying in bed, I listened to the sound of Dora's hurried footsteps fading away. I pulled out my phone and called Janine again. "Janine, I've decided. I'm going to be hospitalized for treatment." My voice was weak, but firm. "Okay, I'll make the arrangements for you." Janine's voice held a hint of relief. Hanging up the phone, I took a deep breath and started checking my bank card balance. This money had once been Dora's and my shared dream fund. We planned to use it to travel the world, to fulfill those youthful dreams. But now, this money might only be used for one thing: treating my stomach cancer. I smiled bitterly and shook my head. Perhaps it was the irony of fate. My money, my life, seemed to be limited by this small number. I put down my phone, picked up the medicine Janine had prescribed from the bedside table, and swallowed it with water. The pills left a bitter taste in my throat, just like my current mood. I turned off the light, closed my eyes, and tried to fall asleep. Late at night, I was woken by a slight noise. I opened my eyes and saw Dora standing by the bed. "You're back." My voice was particularly clear in the silent room. Dora didn't speak. She took off her coat and slipped under the covers, wrapping her arms around me from behind. My body instantly tensed. Her body heat transferred through my thin pajamas, but I felt no warmth. "Are you okay?" Her voice sounded in my ear, carrying a hint of concern. I took a deep breath, trying to make my voice sound calm. "I'm fine. Don't worry." Dora's hand gently stroked my chest. Her breathing gradually became rapid. "Louis, I want you." I turned around, facing her, looking into her eyes. Her eyes were filled with desire, making my heart suddenly clench. "Dora." Before I could finish my sentence, her lips met mine, silencing me. Her kiss was urgent and desperate, making it impossible for me to resist. I closed my eyes and held her close. I kissed her lips, her shoulders, until I reached her chest. "Just one last time, just one last time," I told myself in my heart. Overnight, our relationship seemed to have returned to how it was before. In the morning, Dora got up and made breakfast. We sat at the table, and she talked about company matters, about future plans. "After this project is done, let's travel. I'll take you to Santorini, the place you've always wanted to go." Her eyes sparkled with excitement. I listened quietly, not speaking. Dora talked more and more. She talked about company expansion, new partners, and our future together. But what future could I have with her? "Why aren't you saying anything?" She suddenly stopped and looked at me, a hint of dissatisfaction in her eyes. I looked up and reassured her. "I'm listening. Why have you become so quiet recently? You're no fun at all." Her tone carried a hint of complaint. Her words stung me. I put down my chopsticks and looked at her coldly. "I'm no fun? Is Jason a lot of fun?" Dora froze, a flicker of barely noticeable guilt flashing in her eyes. What are you talking about? You're really getting old now, even getting jealous of a young guy." Dora's words were like a needle, piercing my heart. I wanted to ask her why, when I had cancer, she couldn't be kinder to me, like she used to be. But in the end, all that came out was her name. Dora looked at me, a flicker of impatience in her eyes, seemingly blaming me for being unreasonable. "Okay, stop overthinking. I'm incredibly busy every day. I don't have time to deal with you. Just be quiet for a while and make things easier for me." Her words were like steel needles pricking me over and over again, but I was too weak to get angry now. "Dora, I'm not feeling well today. Can you not go to the office today and stay with me?" My voice was almost pleading. Dora paused, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by indifference. "I have a lot of work to do today. I can't stay with you. You should rest. I'll be back later to keep you company." She stood up, grabbed her bag, and prepared to leave. I felt a wave of despair and couldn't help but laugh mockingly. "Dora, are you really going to work?" Dora turned around, her face turning angry. I felt a dizzy spell. My heart was pounding violently. My body was protesting. I struggled to stand steady, but everything around me was spinning. I couldn't speak at that moment. Dora sneered, "You're just too idle. Go out and get some fresh air if you have nothing to do." With that, Dora slammed the door and left. I felt a sharp pain. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by a large hand. I fell to the floor, everything went black. Using my last bit of strength, I dialed Janine's number. "Janine, save me." My voice was weak, and then everything faded into darkness. I woke up in a blur of light and shadow, finding myself in a hospital bed. "You're finally awake." Janine's voice held a hint of weariness. I tried to sit up, but found my body was too weak to even move my fingers. Janine gently pressed on my shoulder, signaling me not to move. "Your condition can't wait any longer. You must be hospitalized for treatment." I nodded. "I'll go back and pack and come to the hospital tomorrow." My voice was weak, but I tried to keep it calm. Janine nodded. "I'll go back with you." I shook my head. No need. I can manage. If you don't want me to go back with you, at least let me drive you there. As weak as you are now, you might faint on the side of the road before you even get home. Janine's words weren't an exaggeration. Given how weak I was, it was very likely I could faint on the way home. Besides, after every argument, Dora wouldn't come home for at least 3 days. And she was probably with that young man now. She wouldn't have the mind to care about me. Janine driving me home was the best option. I got home in Janine's car and Dora was actually back. She was sitting on the sofa, holding a glass of red wine, her eyes hazy. "Where did you go?" Her voice was slurred with drink. I looked at her, a sense of helplessness washing over me. "I went to the hospital." There was no surprise in Dora's eyes, only indifference. "The hospital? What for?" "I need to be hospitalized for treatment." My voice was almost inaudible. Dora paused. "Treatment? Treatment for what?" "I have cancer." I finally gathered the courage to reveal the heavy secret. Dora looked at me. There was no shock on her face, and certainly no sadness. Instead, she suddenly laughed. "Louis, you're really good at lying now. Hospital, cancer. Are you going to say your lover is a doctor next?" "What do you mean?" I felt a sense of suffocation. Her reaction was completely unexpected. Dora stood up and downed the red wine in her hand. Her eyes were full of mockery. "What do I mean?" "I saw him drive you right to the door." When she said that, I understood what she was thinking, but I didn't want to explain further. Janine and I have a doctor-patient relationship. She's my doctor, nothing more. I felt a sense of powerlessness and didn't want to talk to her anymore, but she seemed insistent. "What do you mean? Are you going to talk about Jason again? He and I are just colleagues. But you rarely go out, and suddenly a woman is driving you home. You say you have no relationship? Do you think I'd believe that?" "Dora, I really have cancer. She's a doctor. I need her treatment." My voice was almost pleading. I hoped she would believe me. Dora paused, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anger. "Cancer? Do you think I'll believe that? You'd make up a lie like that for that woman." At this point, I didn't want to say another word to her. I turned and went back to the room to pack my suitcase. My movements were slow. Each item of clothing I picked up and put down felt like a reminder that I was saying goodbye to the past. Dora stood in the doorway, watching me pack. A complex emotion flickered across her face, but quickly returned to indifference. "What are you doing?" "Running away from home." I didn't answer, just silently folded my clothes one by one and put them in the suitcase. "Do you really think I'd believe that nonsense about you having cancer?" Dora's voice held a hint of disdain. I didn't stop what I was doing, just kept my back to her. "Believe it or not. If you have the guts to leave, then don't come back." As soon as she said that, I knew she didn't believe me, so there was no point in talking anymore. With my luggage packed, I dragged my tired body and carried the suitcase out of the room. Dora didn't stop me. She turned and sat on the sofa, pouring herself a glass of red wine. I turned my back on the home I had lived in for 10 years and walked away, step by step. I had no home anymore. Facing the cold wind, I hailed a cab to go to the hospital. In my current condition, I didn't dare to drive. While stamping my feet against the cold, a car stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Janine's face. "Get in." Her voice was soft but firm, like a ray of warm sunshine in winter. Janine started the car. The heater inside made me feel a trace of warmth. We were silent the whole way. The car stopped in the hospital parking lot, and we walked into the hospital together. The hospital corridors smelled of disinfectant, creating an indescribable sense of oppression. Janine took me to complete the admission procedures and then to my ward. The ward was clean and tidy, with the snowy scenery outside the window as the only decoration. Janine helped me make the bed and then sat by the side of it. "Get some rest first. I'll go look at your treatment plan." She stood up, preparing to leave. But at the door, she turned back. "Louis, no matter what happens, don't give up hope." I looked at her and nodded silently. After Janine left, I lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. My thoughts drifted far away, remembering every little thing with Dora. I remembered our past vows, our shared dreams. But now, everything was shattered. I closed my eyes, trying to calm myself down. But the pain in my heart was like a knife, constantly cutting at my soul. Then another piece of bad news arrived, plunging me into complete despair. Janine returned, a heavy expression on her face. Louis, your treatment plan has been finalized, but... She hesitated. I looked at her, a sense of foreboding rising in my heart. What is it? She sighed. Your bank account has been frozen. I froze, a wave of despair washing over me. I hadn't expected Dora to be so heartless, to even take away my life-saving money. Janine looked at me, her eyes filled with sympathy. But you don't have to worry. I have some savings here. I can cover it for you first. I shook my head. No, Janine, you've already helped me so much. I can't trouble you anymore. Louis, life is more important than anything. You can't give up on treatment. Janine's voice held a hint of reassurance. I looked at her, my heart turned to ashes. Janine, thank you. But now I don't want to treat it anymore. Janine froze. She tried to persuade me. Louis, you can't think that way. There's still hope for you. I turned my head away, no longer looking at her. Janine, please leave. I really don't want to treat it anymore. About the hospital. I'm sorry for the trouble. Louis. Janine wanted to say more, but a familiar figure walked in. It was Dora. Her face was tinged with weariness, her eyes full of worry. Why are you here? My voice was barely weak. Dora walked over to me and reached out, trying to embrace me. Husband, the hospital called me. I know everything about your situation. I looked at her and instinctively flinched away. Aren't you very busy? How do you have time to come find me? A hint of guilt flashed in Dora's eyes. Louis, I know I've neglected you lately and caused some misunderstandings, but I really have been very busy. I didn't know your illness was this serious. If I had known earlier, how could I possibly have frozen your bank account? I closed my eyes, not wanting to listen to her explanations anymore. Dora, let's get a divorce. Dora froze, a look of hurt flashing in her eyes. It was just a misunderstanding, wasn't it? Besides, what couple doesn't argue? Do you have to go as far as asking for a divorce? I took a deep breath, trying to make my voice sound calm. It's not a misunderstanding. I'm just tired. You're tired? You don't do anything all day and you're tired. Dora said angrily. Louis, what do you want me to do to make you happy? Do you expect me to get on my knees and beg you over a misunderstanding? I looked at her, opened my mouth, but ultimately said nothing. She looked at me, silent, and seemed about to say more, but was stopped by Janine beside her. At first, I didn't understand why Louis wouldn't want treatment. Now that I see you, I completely understand. Who do you think you are, talking about understanding him? I've been with him for 15 years. Who could understand him better than me? Dora pushed Janine away and shouted. Janine was pushed hard by Dora and stumbled to the side. I quickly studied Janine. Dora was like a firecracker ignited, exploding instantly. Louis, what do you mean? Dora's voice turned sharp, her eyes filled with disbelief. Now I didn't want to waste any more words on Dora. I skipped her question. Dora, I'll send you the divorce papers. Dora's face turned pale. Are you really going to do this? 15 years of our relationship, just like that. I turned away, no longer looking at her. Yes, just like that. Why, just like that? Why should it be just like that because you say so? Dora shrieked in a hoarse voice. Louis, you'll never leave me unless I don't want you anymore. Will Jason be content being the mistress forever? I turned to look at her. He and I. You and he are just colleagues. I finished Dora's sentence mockingly. If that's really true, then swear on your life. She knew that if she actually swore, I would definitely believe her. But she didn't dare. Dora froze. Louis, are you trying to force me? I looked at her, not replying. She looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed, tears welling up. If this were before, I would have been heartbroken, but at this moment, I felt nothing. We were silent, a stark contrast to the lively past. Until a phone rang, breaking the silence. She answered the call, her face instantly becoming tense. What? Don't do anything foolish, I'll be right over. She hung up the phone and turned to leave. Before leaving, she seemed to remember I was still there and turned to explain. Jason wants to commit suicide. I'm going over. Without waiting for my reply, she quickly left the small hotel. Watching Dora's hurried, retreating figure, I knew that her departure wasn't just for the so-called Jason, but for herself. She was afraid to face reality. I took a deep breath, deciding not to live for her anymore. I pulled out my phone and started dealing with the transfer of company shares. Over the years, Dora and I had worked hard together. The company was like our child, witnessing our love and sweat. But now I needed to let go. I needed to give myself a new beginning. After handling the transfer of shares, I sent Dora a divorce agreement. I didn't ask for any property division. I just hoped she would sign it so we could both be free from this relationship. After doing all this, I felt a sense of ease I had never felt before. I decided to go for a walk. These past few years, Dora and I had been busy with the company. Later, when the company took off, my health declined. This was my last chance. If I didn't go for a walk now, I might never have the opportunity again. I asked Janine. In my condition, without any treatment, if things went well, I might have half a year left. I packed a simple bag and bought a plane ticket to go abroad. I embarked on the journey to Santorini alone, free from her, free from the constraints of the past. I adjusted the blanket, preparing to sleep, but then I heard a familiar voice. Louis, you ran off again. Why are you here? I looked at Janine before me. Janine's voice was soft yet firm. Louis, do you remember our days in the orphanage when we were children? There was a little girl who was always bullied, and you always protected her. Now, it's my turn to protect you. I froze. Yes, how could I forget? It was just that the little girl was adopted, and that's when I lost contact with her. Janine smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. Yes, I was that girl. I've been looking for you, Louis. I know you might not remember me, but I never forgot you. I looked at her, my heart filled with complex emotions. I didn't know what to say, only held her hand tightly. Janine squeezed my hand back, her eyes filled with determination. Louis, you're not alone. I'll be with you wherever you go. I looked at her, my heart slowly starting to melt. Perhaps I really wasn't alone. Janine and I stayed in a small hotel in Santorini. The air was fresh, the sky was blue, making one feel relaxed and happy. We tasted the local delicacies and felt the warmth and hospitality of the local people. I also rented a small courtyard, planning to recuperate here for a while. I often sat there, looking at the distant mountains, my heart filled with tranquility. Janine would talk to me every day, telling me stories about her childhood, and I would share with her my experiences over the years. We prepared for a few days, bought the necessary climbing gear, and hired a local guide. We walked slowly, stopping to admire the scenery along the way. Just as we were heading back, Louis. Janine cried out, her voice filled with panic. I felt her warm arms wrap around me, but I couldn't respond. Darkness quickly enveloped me, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I found myself lying in a bed at a medical station. Janine sat by my bed, her eyes full of worry and fatigue. You're awake. How are you feeling? Her voice was hoarse, clearly having stayed by me for a long time. Just then, the door of the medical station opened, and Dora walked in. Dora came in, a hint of anxiety on her face. Louis, how are you? Dora walked quickly to my bedside, her voice laced with panic. I looked at her, my heart unusually calm. I'm fine. A complex emotion flickered in Dora's eyes. She seemed about to say something, but ultimately just sighed. Dora, we don't have a home anymore. Dora froze, a look of hurt flashing in her eyes. Louis, why can't you believe me? Louis, I know I did a lot of wrong things. I know I hurt you. Her voice trembled, carrying a hint of despair. I froze your bank account because I misunderstood you and Janine then. I didn't know you were sick, and I was furious. That's why I did it. I know I should have been by your side. I love you. I really love you. Dora's tears finally couldn't be held back. Her voice was filled with despair. Louis, I know you don't want anything to do with me anymore. But I'm pregnant. I turned my head, shocked, unable to believe my ears. What did you say? Dora's tears streamed down her face. She bit her lip, seemingly trying to control her emotions. I said, I'm pregnant. The child is yours, Louis. I know I made a lot of mistakes, but the child is innocent. I hope you can give the child a complete home. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. This news was too sudden for me. I needed time to process it. Louis, I know you might not be able to forgive me right now, but for the sake of the child, can we start over? Dora's voice held a hint of pleading. I opened my eyes and looked at her, a mix of emotions churning inside me. How much I had once hoped we could have a child, a little life that belonged to the two of us. But now, this news filled me with an unprecedented sense of irony. Dora, I'm very confused right now. I need time to think. My voice sounded somewhat weak. Dora nodded. She stood up and wiped her tears. Okay, I'll give you time. But please think carefully. The child needs a father. She turned and left the medical station, leaving me alone in the bed, my heart filled with conflict and struggle. I lay in bed, my thoughts in disarray. Dora's words echoed in my mind. Pregnant, child, these words struck my heart like heavy hammers. I had yearned for a child so much, but now, the arrival of this child filled me with a deep sense of powerlessness and confusion. I thought of the sweetness when we first got married. Back then, we had nothing, but we were filled with enthusiasm and aspirations for the future. We had planned to have a child, a boy or a girl. We would teach them to walk, to talk, watch them grow up together. But as time went on, company matters grew more and more, and our dreams were repeatedly postponed. And now, Dora was pregnant. But the arrival of this child was accompanied by the breakdown of our marriage. I couldn't help but ask myself, could this child truly be the catalyst for us to start over? Or would it become an eternal pain between us? I closed my eyes, trying to calm myself down, but the turmoil in my heart was hard to quell. I thought of Janine. She was always so gentle, so understanding. She didn't have Dora's sharpness and indifference. She felt like a warm haven to me. I took a deep breath and decided to go talk to Janine. Maybe she could give me some advice and help me sort out this mess. I slowly got up and walked out of the medical station. The air outside was fresh and cold. I couldn't help but shiver. I saw Janine. She was sitting on a bench not far away, looking at the distant mountains. I walked over and sat beside her. She turned her head and gave me a warm smile. Jen, there's something I want to talk to you about. My voice was trembling slightly. Jenny nodded, her eyes full of concern and encouragement. I took a deep breath and began to tell her about Dora and everything that had happened, including her betrayal, my illness, and the news she had just given me about the pregnancy. Jenny listened quietly. She didn't interrupt me, just nodded occasionally, showing she was listening carefully. When I finished, Janine was silent for a moment. Then she said softly, Louis, I can't make this decision for you. But do you really want this child? Are you really willing to forgive Dora and start over with her? I shook my head. I couldn't answer that question. I didn't know if I could ever trust Dora again. I didn't know if I could give her a complete home. Janine held my hand. Her voice was soft and firm. Louis, no matter what decision you make, I will support you. I thought about the child, and I knew I really should talk to Dora again. I took a deep breath of the cold air, trying to clear my head. Are you going to see her? Janine's voice was quiet, as if afraid to disturb me. I nodded. Yeah. Janine didn't say anything more, just quietly helped me straighten my collar. Her hand was warm, giving me a little strength. But when I got downstairs to her place, I saw a familiar figure, Jason. He looked anxious, pacing downstairs. I frowned and walked over. What are you doing here? My voice was cold. Jason saw me and clearly froze for a moment. Then he started to laugh. I'm here to see Dora. My heart sank. My intuition told me he wasn't here for a simple reason. She's not here, I said coldly. Jason seemed relieved, but a sly look flashed in his eyes. Then I'll wait for her here. He didn't seem to want to leave. My unease grew stronger. I started asking questions I already knew the answer to. What did you come here for? My voice was almost squeezed through my teeth. Jason looked at me, his eyes full of provocation. What did I come here for? Shouldn't you know very well? His voice carried a hint of smugness. A surge of anger rose from the bottom of my heart. I stepped forward, almost grabbing his collar. Jason seemed startled by my attitude. He stepped back, then he seemed to realize something and suddenly laughed. Don't get so worked up, just kidding. Actually, I didn't mainly come to see Dora this time. I mostly wanted to come see my child. What do you mean? My voice was almost trembling. Jason looked at me, his eyes filled with provocation. I came to see my child. The child in Dora's belly is mine. I felt dizzy. My body involuntarily swayed. She lied to me. She lied to me again. Jason looked at me, his eyes full of sarcasm. Listening to Jason's voice, all my patience exploded at that moment. He was unprepared and was knocked to the ground by my punch, blood instantly flowing from the corner of his mouth. Shut up! I roared, all my anger and the pain of betrayal transforming into strength at this moment. Jason covered his face, looking at me in surprise, clearly not expecting me to actually hit him. A look of astonishment flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anger. Who do you think you are? A dying man dares to hit me. He roared, climbing up from the ground, ready to fight back. Just then, Dora's voice suddenly rang out. Stop it! She rushed out from the stairwell, saw the scene before her, and immediately instinctively shielded Jason. Louis, what are you doing? Her voice held a hint of reproach, and even more, a hint of heartache. I looked at her, my heart a mix of pain and anger, and finally couldn't help but laugh. Dora, I'm dying, but even if I don't spend all my money, I'll donate it to charity. You won't get a single cent. You don't need to bother with me anymore. Dora's face changed. She turned her head and looked at Jason, a question in her eyes. Jason avoided her gaze, his eyes flickering uncertainly. Dora, Before he could finish, Dora interrupted him. Don't say any more. I understand. Her voice held a hint of finality. Then she turned to me, her eyes full of pleading. Louis, let's go to a hotel and talk properly. I looked at her, smiled, wiped my nosebleed, and turned to leave. Dora chased after me. For the first time, she left Jason behind and chose me. Did Jason say something to you? Dora asked. Don't believe him. He's just a young guy who talks nonsense. I shook my head, my voice tired. Dora, let me go. A tear glistened in Dora's eye. Her voice choked. Louis, you can't just believe whatever he says. When did I ever think about taking your money? You know very well that if I wanted it, you would have given it to me long ago. Why would I need to scheme like this? Don't listen to his nonsense. Come back with me. Let's start over and raise the child together. Regarding the money, I knew what she said was true. Regarding the child, I wasn't sure if Jason was telling the truth. But Jason's appearance completely woke me up. Whether the child she was carrying was mine or not, whether she was after my money or not, her cheating on me, betraying me, and freezing my bank account were all established facts. I shouldn't get entangled with her anymore. I looked at her again. Dora, I'm dying soon. Let me go. Dora's tears finally couldn't be held back. No, there are advanced technologies in the US now. We can go there for treatment. You won't die. You're not allowed to leave me. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Dora, it's not that I'm leaving you. You left me first. After saying that, I didn't reply to her anymore. In the following days, Dora came to find me every day, but I refused to see her. But she wouldn't give up, just like how we used to be so determined to be together. Janine stayed with me every day. She told me some trivial gossip from her town, and I listened with great interest. We were like two old friends, or like a couple, quietly living a simple, ordinary life. Plain and beautiful. Until one day, I felt my spirits lift considerably. I told Janine I wanted to go to Mirror Lake one more time. Janine looked at me, a hint of worry in her eyes, but she finally nodded. We slowly climbed to the mountaintop. The sun was bright, and the water of Mirror Lake was still blue. I stood by the lake, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. Feeling the last moments of peace and contentment, I knew my life was coming to an end. I turned my head and looked at Janine. Her eyes were filled with worry and reluctance to part. Jen, thank you, I said softly again. A tear glistened in Janine's eye. Her voice choked. Louis, don't say that. I gently held her hand, my voice weak and calm. Jen, I don't have much time left. Spending my last moments in this beautiful place, it's been a life well lived. Janine's tears finally couldn't be held back. Her voice was filled with despair. Louis, don't say that, you'll get better. I shook my head, a hint of a smile in my voice. Jen, don't cry. Maybe for others, death is just death, but for me, maybe it's a new beginning. My short life has been turbulent. Abandoned by my parents as a child, thinking I finally met someone to spend my life with and have a family in my youth, only to be betrayed in middle age, falling seriously ill, suffering unbearable pain. Maybe death is a release for me. Janine held my hand tightly, her tears dripping onto the back of my hand. I turned my head and looked at Mirror Lake again. Sunlight sparkled on the water, shimmering beautifully, breathtakingly so. I felt my body becoming lighter and lighter. I felt as if my soul was about to fly. I knew my life was about to end, but I felt no fear, because I knew I had such a good Janine, always by my side. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I felt my body slowly fall. Before I lost consciousness, I heard Janine scream. I felt her holding me tightly. Just like that embrace when she was adopted and we parted, she held me just as tightly. After Louis and Janine went up the mountain, Dora followed a guide up Mount Sterling. Before, she had told Louis she wanted to come here with him. But now, the two were going their separate ways. Dora sat on the ground for a moment, catching her breath, feeling a little sad, then got up again and continued climbing up with the guide. Jason watched Dora like this and couldn't help but grab her. You have asthma. Are you going to risk your life for him? Dora didn't answer. She pulled away from Jason's hand and continued climbing the mountain. She knew Louis would never forgive her, but she wasn't willing to give up just like that. She wanted to see Louis one more time, even if it was just from a distance. Jason stood rooted to the spot, watching Dora's retreating back, a hint of despair in his eyes. He knew that everything between him and Dora was over, but he didn't want to give up. Louis was already in that condition. Why did Dora still love him? Jason thought, unwilling to accept it. Dora didn't know what Jason was thinking. She hurried along, not daring to delay, and finally reached the mountaintop. She saw Louis and Janine. They were sitting by Mirror Lake. Louis's face held a satisfied and peaceful smile. A strong impulse surged in Dora's heart. She wanted to rush over, to tell Louis she was wrong, to win back everything between them. But gradually, she realized something was wrong. She looked at Louis and Janine. Louis lay in Janine's arms with his eyes closed. Janine was suddenly crying uncontrollably. Dora had a guess in her heart, but she couldn't believe it. She rushed forward in disbelief. Louis lay quietly in Janine's arms, smiling. Dora's face was full of shock and disbelief. Her trembling hand reached out to touch his cold cheek. Louis, what are you doing? Don't you know it's cold here? If you fall asleep, you'll die. Get up right now. Her tears streamed down her face, her voice filled with despair and panic. Janine's eyes were also filled with tears, but her voice was unusually firm. Dora, get away. You don't deserve to touch him. What did you say? You bitch. If it wasn't for you, Louis wouldn't be dead. Dora completely lost control of her emotions. She turned to Janine and accused her furiously. Janine looked at her coldly. The tears in her eyes had dried, replaced by deep sorrow. Dora, don't you understand yet? It was your indifference and betrayal all these years. You were the one who pushed him towards death with your own hands. What right do you have to accuse me here? Dora froze, a look of confusion and fear flashing across her face. Her voice became trembling. No, it's not like that. I didn't want him to die. Just what? Janine interrupted her. Just wanted his money, just wanted freedom, just wanted other men, right? Dora, you are too selfish. You don't deserve Louis's love at all. Dora's face turned pale, her body started to tremble. She knelt beside Louis, her voice filled with despair. Louis, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't expect you to leave me. I love you. I really love you. I just. Johnny no longer looked at her. She gently stroked Louis's forehead, her voice soft and sad. Louis, rest in peace. I will always remember you. Remember all your goodness. Dora's tears flowed continuously. Her heart was filled with regret and pain, but it was already too late. Jason watched Dora's breakdown, his heart a mix of emotions. He walked forward, trying to help Dora up, but she pushed him away fiercely. It's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, Louis wouldn't be dead. Dora's voice was sharp and desperate, her eyes filled with tears. Her emotions were completely out of control. Jason froze, a look of pain and confusion flashing in his eyes. Dora, I just like you. I just wanted to be with you. With me? You selfish jerk. Dora's emotions erupted like a volcano. Her voice was full of anger and hatred. You knew about my relationship with Louis, but you still had to interfere. You knew he was not well, but you still had to provoke him. You're a murderer. Jason's face turned pale, his body involuntarily recoiled a few steps. No, Dora, I didn't want him to die. I just wanted him to leave you. I wanted you to be happy. Happy? Dora sneered, her eyes filled with sarcasm. Is your so-called happiness destroying everything I have? Is your so-called happiness making me lose the person I love most? A tear glistened in Jason's eye, his voice choked. Dora, I know I was wrong. I know I shouldn't have interfered in your lives. But I really love you. Your love is destroying my happiness. Dora's voice carried a hint of despair. Jason, I hate you. I will never forgive you. Jason's tears finally couldn't be held back. His body trembled. He reached out, wanting to pull Dora into his arms, hoping to give her some comfort. Dora, I know I was wrong, but the dead cannot be brought back. Give me a chance. Let me make up for my mistakes. His voice trembled, carrying a hint of pleading. The dead cannot be brought back. The dead cannot be brought back. Ha ha. Dora mumbled, crying and laughing, as if the deepest wound in her heart had been touched. Her emotions completely spiraled out of control. She fiercely pushed Jason away, picked up a sharp rock from the ground, and stabbed him violently. You jerk. It's all your fault Louis died. Go to hell. Dora's voice was sharp and full of hatred. The gentleness of the past was gone from her eyes, replaced only by endless rage and despair. Jason was stunned by the sudden attack. He didn't have time to react before the rock pierced his chest. He felt a sharp pain and his body involuntarily fell backward. Dora. His voice was weak and full of disbelief. He looked at Dora, his eyes filled with pain and confusion. Dora watched Jason fall into a pool of blood, her hands trembling, the rock dropping to the ground. A look of horror flashed in her eyes. She realized what she had done. What have I done? Her voice trembled, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. Janine witnessed everything from the side, her eyes filled with the satisfaction of vengeance. But as a doctor, her professional ethics compelled her. She rushed forward, trying to stop the bleeding for Jason, but it was no use. Dora sank to the ground, her tears streaming down her face. Her heart was filled with remorse and pain. She watched Jason gradually lose the signs of life, and her world completely collapsed. I just wanted him to leave. I just wanted him to stop bothering us. Her voice grew fainter and fainter, finally turning into quiet sobs. Janine looked at Dora. The sorrow in her heart quickly overshadowed everything else. She knew Dora's mind had completely broken down. Nothing she did now mattered. Dora, you will pay for what you did. Janine's voice held a hint of finality. Dora didn't answer. She just sat there quietly, as if she had lost all vitality. The light in her eyes was gone, replaced only by deep despair and emptiness. And Louis lay quietly by Mirror Lake as if he had already become detached from this world.